What's up you guys, hope you're having an awesome day. I'm your host Ayman Hassan and welcome back to another video. Now Tinder, the hookup app turned horror story app, turned shitting yourself or on someone else app, like I don't even know what to call it at this point. So I'm just gonna skip the bullshit and get straight into it. These are the top 10 scary Tinder experiences part 4. Starting us off with number 10 are the woods. Now this one comes from one of my friends who said she went back home for the holidays and she was on Tinder just to see what was up. She ended up matching with this guy, but they never messaged each other, but then they soon realized they both went to the same gym. They ended up talking and exchanging phone numbers and then scheduled a date for the next day. When he picked her up, the conversation wasn't bad at all. They talked about weed and whether she smoked, and she said she did. He ends up taking her to the shadiest ice cream cafe known for stoners that was located literally in the middle of the woods. Since she never lived there, she had no idea where they were going, and as they were walking towards these trees, he turned to her and said, "How do you know you can trust me? You barely know me. I could be a serial killer." Like, who the hell says that on a first date? Mind you, at this point she tried laughing it off, but like, what the hell? They start walking into the woods and she starts getting really anxious and then pulls out her phone to turn on the flashlight because it's nighttime and she can't see anything. The deeper they get, the more terrified she's getting, but she finally starts to see the light of the cafe, wherein of course she sees nothing but guys, which in turn makes her even more uncomfortable, and it's just getting worse and worse. Then obviously her date offers her some synthetic weed, which she declines, and then asks her if she's a good kisser or not. Safe to say they never spoke again. Coming in at number 9 is the military coup. Now this one is wild, people. So back in July of 2016, Phil Stevenson, a man from England, matched this girl on Tinder. She ended up asking him if he would go to Turkey with her because her family dropped out of the trip last minute, and I mean free trip to Turkey with a girl you've never met. A lot of people wouldn't say no, but then a lot of people would. While Phil was absolutely buzzing getting ready for the trip, the minute they landed they realized the country's military coup was just starting. If that wasn't bad enough, the duo had completely different views on how the trip was gonna go. Phil thought it was gonna be some casual fun, whilst Nicole wanted something more serious. And honestly, Phil's a dumbass if he didn't get that from the fact she literally invited him on holiday with her without even meeting him. He shared she wanted to hold hands as soon as they got on the flight, and he just wasn't about that. On the flip side, Nicole told the Northern Echo that it was the worst time of her life and he stole her toothpaste. Mate, the flight was free, the least you could do is pay for your own toothpaste. Like, how cheap are you? Really? Pretty big man? Didn't think so. At number 8 we have the real problem. This one's from Reddit user PM Me a Sultry Look, who shared he went on a date with this girl from Tinder and they decided to see each other for about a month. And on paper she seemed great. She was a master's student, she was cultured, a yoga teacher, etc. Well, turns out the user found out she was doing heroin and that she didn't even see a problem with it. The user had to actually explain what a high-functioning addict was to her, so she thought going to school and having a job meant being a junkie was all good. Like, no, and they very much broke up after that, and she went back to her old junkie boyfriend. Filling on number 7 slot is the girlfriend. Now this story was submitted to BuzzFeed by this girl who had been talking to this guy off Tinder for about 2 weeks. Things were going pretty well, but that's usually the point everything stops going well, isn't it? Now the girl starts getting random calls from an unknown girl who the boy claimed was his crazy roommate that was high-key in love with him. He said she kept trying to get him fired from jobs and all this other crazy stuff, but turns out she wasn't the one lying. She turned out to be his live-in girlfriend, and the both of them had moved there together because he wasn't a citizen and was trying to obtain the papers. Now at number 6 is the dog walk. Now this one was shared by one of my friends that agreed to share her story as long as she remained anonymous, so Karen, this one is for you. I'm kidding, I don't have a friend named Karen. Anyway, she said she once went on a date with this guy from Tinder who already seemed creepy, but she wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. She said he also had a foot fetish, but that's besides the point, and for the record, that's not even the creepy part. I mean, he did offer to buy her a pair of Louboutins just to see her feet in them and then come over and step on him while she wore them, but again, that's okay. We don't kink shame here at Top 10, I've said that many times. He then wanted her to call him a peasant and so forth, so basically he wanted her to be his dom. Either way, after a few days of talking, they met up for a date and he told her the date would be them walking his dog, which is kinda cute, I guess, except he said he wanted to walk his dog at the cemetery. And if that's not a sign of a serial killer, I don't know what is. She blocked him after that. Coming Coming in at number 5 is Too Polite. This one's from Reddit user Gaz_man, who said a few years ago he had moved from the UK to Perth. A new friend told him to try his luck on Tinder for meeting girls, and so he started speaking to this short Caucasian redhead who kinda low-key looked exactly like him. Either way, after about 2 weeks of talking, they arranged to meet up at a bar in the city. Gaz, which honestly could be short for Gary or Gareth, I have no clue, got to the bar first and texts her asking her if she wanted a drink. He gets them and waits till she finally arrives. But it's not exactly her. It's a middle-aged Asian lady who sits opposite him and introduces herself as the girl he's been talking to. Now Gaz then shows her a picture of the girl, confused, and she goes, "Yeah, that's me," and how it's so nice to finally meet him. Admittedly, he just nodded and smiled because he didn't want to create a fuss. Eventually, he pressed his ringtone and pretended a friend had called him with an emergency and left. You were too polite. If that happened to me, honestly, I feel like I actually would do the same. I wouldn't know how to be like, "You're a catfish." I would just be like, "Oh, haha," endure the date and then never speak to them again. At number 4 is The Spot. Now this was shared by Redditor Kaid, who said she went on a Tinder date with this guy that took her to his favorite smoke spot, which happened to be a spot by the lake. And admittedly, that's low-key kind of romantic to just sit by a lake and just hang out. It's kind of cute. Either way, they get there, smoke a bowl, and despite being a bit hesitant, the user ends up relaxing after he tells her he smokes there all the time. Sure enough, a few minutes later, a cop car comes by, smells the weed, and arrests them both. Imagine getting bloody arrested on a Tinder date. But that wouldn't happen in good old Canada, cause marijuana is legal. Not that I would know. Filling our number 3 slot is The Walk Home. So my friend actually told me this last week about how she went out for drinks with this guy from Tinder, and it went really well. He offered to walk her home since it wasn't far, and despite Toronto not even being unsafe per se at 10 PM, she accepted the cute gesture because who even does that anymore? That is quite cute. On the way home, they were about 2 minutes from her apartment building when they heard a scream from inside the bushes on the other side of the street. And my friend was like, "Where the hell did that come from?" And then they both saw this homeless guy just stumbling out of the bushes. He starts shouting some miscellaneous words, and the two keep walking, hoping he's just staying on that side of the street. Obviously, the guy starts crossing over to them, and at this point, my friend is about to have an anxiety attack, and I mean, deservedly so. He then asks him if they have any change, and my friend pulls out $5, and the guy brings out his wallet. After taking the note, he then asked the date if he could have his wallet, and no, he did not ask nicely. Now I feel like usually the date in the situation would maybe just start fighting with the guy, but who knew if this dude even had a knife or not? Honestly, you can never be too sure. The date then tried to calm him down, repeatedly saying they were just trying to have a nice night and get home safe, and eventually he gave up and they ran home. Now at number 2 is Chelsea O'Donnell. Back in the summer of 2015, famous comedian Rosie O'Donnell went on a social media witch hunt for her daughter Chelsea. The 17-year-old apparently went missing in New York City for a week, and Rosie started posting on Instagram and Twitter asking if anyone knew where she was. The police eventually found her in New Jersey, hiding out with a 25-year-old guy from Tinder called Steve Shearer, who had, by the way, previously been arrested for drug-related offenses, which, I mean, let's just not talk about that. Now apparently Chelsea claims she was there with him voluntarily. Chelsea, what are you doing, big man? If you're gonna meet someone from Tinder, tell someone who it is and where you're going. That is literally rule number 1. Rule number 2 is to not run away with them right after meeting them. End of story. Literally 2 rules. Literally that's all you need to not die on a Tinder date. And finally, at number 1 is The Persistent Couple. This one's from Reddit user Turtle Sensei, who said she was on Tinder when she was 19, and as a bisexual female, she made the app show her both girls and guys. She ended up getting matched with this woman who offered to fly her out to Arizona to live with her and her boyfriend or husband and be their young lover. Is that some kind of fetish? Probably. She obviously declined, but the couple kept creating different accounts just to ask her, and so she ended up deleting the app altogether. And good thing she did too, because a while later she saw something in the news about a couple from Arizona that had lured a girl about the user's age to their home for what was built as a sex dungeon. Alright, this is when it gets a bit weird. They held her there for 6 months before she was finally able to escape. Oh, can you imagine if that was her? Like, Turtle Sensei, you dodged a bullet. And that's it for today's video, guys. Tinder, man, what a time to be alive. I feel like we could keep this series going forever, honestly, and I'd love to keep doing it. Should I even actually start adding you guys' Tinder experiences if you comment them or DM them to me? I feel like that could be fun. Let me know if you'd like that. And as always, I'm your host Eamon Hassan, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!